Hi, this is Benedict, and today I'm going to be starting a new series on underrated chess openings. The opening we're going to be showing today is called the Mexican Defense or the Black Knights Tango. The game starts off as d4, knight to f6, c4, and knight to c6. The purpose of this opening is to encourage white to overextend its pawns, and you can exploit white's weaknesses and have a nice attacking game. In this position, there's three main moves. And in this episode, we're going to be covering the advanced variation, pushing d5. And here, you're going to move your knight over here, attacking this pawn. And here, white has again three main moves. If your opponent decides to do knight to f3, simply take this pawn, and after e4, discovered attack on the knight, just retreat, and you have a nice position. White can develop. You can simply push this pawn to be able to develop the light squared bishop. You're going to want to flank out of the black squared bishop and have a nice game, nice solid defense. Notice in this position, white cannot push this pawn because otherwise you can just take this one, because now it's defended by this knight. So let's go back. If your opponent decides to go knight to f3, I recommend you push this pawn to be able to develop this bishop and have it as a Nimzo-Indian defense bishop. Then white can simply go here, bishop here, light square bishop, castle, and you have a solid position. Let's go back. Now, the main move in this position is e4, grabbing more space in the center and defending this pawn. In this position, I recommend you just do e6, threaten a pawn break, and now white has two decisions. He can either play bishop here to defend this pawn, now that it's being attacked, or push this pawn, grabbing even more space. This is a more aggressive move, and whenever you see your opponent push the f pawn, you're going to want to look with your queen over at the h4 square to give some nasty checks to the white king. If your opponent decides to push the f pawn, simply retreat, and now your opponent can defend with the bishop. If he defends, simply capture this pawn, and again he's met with two decisions. If he takes, you can simply develop this bishop, and now it seems a bit scary. He has a really big majority in the center, strong center, and now he's threatening to kick your knight back. But no worries, simply push this queen, pinning this pawn, and after white develops more pieces, simply push this pawn and threaten to break it, castle, and most of your pieces are developed, and white's position looks like his pawns are overextended and looks a bit exposed. So let's go back. So in this position, if your opponent pushes this pawn, simply jump with the knight right into the center. And after that, your opponent will recapture this pawn, but now you have queen to h4. White has to block, but then you grab with the knight, threatening some nasty discoveries. And white only has one move that can still save him, and that's knight to f3. In this position, computer suggests you move the queen up. However, a stronger move is bishop to b4. And white can go very wrong in this position. The correct move is to block with the knight, but after that you can just move the queen. And after black develops castle, push this pawn, open the center since the king is still in the center, and have a solid position. However, if white decides to make the brutal mistake of defending with the bishop, you have this amazing move, knight captures f4, sacrificing the queen. And now, your opponent may be very tempted to capture your queen. However, if he does, you can simply capture this bishop, and that's right. That's checkmate. So, best move in this position for white is to capture this bishop. However, you can move your knight here, give check, and white has only two options where to move the king. If he moves here, you can simply capture the bishop, and after he blocks or defends, goes back, you can take this rook, and after captures, you're up in material, you can retreat. Your queen's active, this pawn can very easily be broken. You can push this, develop the bishop, castle, and have great attacking chances and a winning game. Now, if your opponent decides to move the king here over to f2, unfortunately for him, you have a forced mate. After he moves here, you're gonna move knight to e4, a double check, so white has no time to capture the queen. He has to move the king. If he goes to any of these squares, simply queen to f2, checkmate, so he is forced to capture the knight. But then queen to f2, white has only one squared, and after d6, white is completely lost. He can only prolong the game doing silly moves like blocking with the pawn, but then captures, you're threatening to push. And bishop check, but then simply block, and if captures, you have checkmate. Thank you for watching my video. This has been the first episode on the Mexican defense, or the Black Knights Tango. I'll be doing more videos on it if you're interested, following the other variations on knight to f3 and knight to c3. I hope you enjoyed watching my video, and good luck with your chess.